I'm Ryan Green.
And I'm Zack Taylor.
And we are Commander Social. And this week, we're going to be talking to you about utility lands and how you can use them more effectively in your decks.
That's what I pay to have my water bill, right?
Yeah, and electricity,
too. Electricity? Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
And make creatures unblockable.
I like all of those things. All of them.
All right. So we want to thank all of you out there in audience land. We really appreciate you tuning in. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please remember to hit that like button and do the subscribe thing. And if you want those notifications, ding that bell. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention that we have a Patreon now.
You asked for it. We got it.
We did it, buddy. We got there. All right. So please, if you really like our content, please consider becoming a Patreon.
It'd mean the world to us. Yeah,
absolutely. And, just kind of give you a little nudge in the right direction.
Right.
We are doing a giveaway this month.
Wink, wink.
We are going to give away a Core 2020 bundle. And that's got that cool alternate art Chandra's regulator in it too.
Oh, it does. I forgot about that.
So yeah, we're going to give away one of those to one lucky Patreon. And if you want to be eligible, all you got to do is be a Patreon. Just at any level. And at the end of July, once all that stuff happens, we're going to pick a lucky winner and notify you and get an address and ship you out a bundle. So that'll be exciting. I'm actually excited we're doing giveaways and stuff now.
I think it's cool that, I know I like getting stuff and I feel like our viewers and listeners do too.
Absolutely. And I love that we can finally provide that kind of value. So I'm super excited about it.
Same.
Okay. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm at Green Geek.
I'm at Z4CK38. And together we're at Commander Social.
Indeed. All right. So before we get to the main topic.
Is it mail day?
It's mail day.
Mail day. I like getting mail.
I do love mail. All right. So here we have a package, nondescript, because I take the labels off like you do. And there's going to be some crinkle opening noises here on the audio.
Sorry, Mike.
Yep. Sorry.
Open that package.
We are opening a package currently.
It's in there. Oh my gosh.
Swing. Look at this.
Oh, snap.
Oh, it is a set of game night tokens.
Sweet.
Look at this. Only one may stand on the side. I love it.
Yeah,
this packaging is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
All right. So obviously, they had a Kickstarter for the tokens. And I purchased a set and just going to open it on air and take a look at it here. It's so excited. Ooh, okay. What do we got? All right. So which way is which? Oh, all right. Look at that. Got a Jimmy Wong Goblin and a Josh Lee Kwai Soldier.
Nice.
Oh, man. Look, and they're signed and everything.
I see him?
Yeah. Go for it.
Dude, these look pretty tight. This foiling's real nice.
Oh, man. These are so sweet. And it's like a play set. Look at this. I'll hold them to the camera. These feel nice.
Yeah.
Look how nice and straight they are. Oh, man.
Well, we'll definitely take a picture to illustrate it.
But yeah, I'm super excited about these. These are definitely going in the token box.
For sure.
All right. So that was mail day. Thank you so much, guys. These are great. These honestly, I am super pumped about these. These are awesome.
Yeah, those look real good. Get those straight into some perfect fits.
Oh, yeah. I probably got my greasy hands all over them. That's fine. All right. So let's see. More crinkles as we move stuff away here.
Yep.
All right. So that brings us to Zach. What's been going on in your personal life, man?
The regular stuff. I'm pretty excited. Tomorrow's 4th of July, so get to be off work. We're going to hang out and have some barbecue. We went and saw Spider-Man Far From Home tonight, and it was
Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
I think after last week, it's pretty well known that we're pretty big Spider-Man fans.
Oh, yeah. And, that's obviously translated to my children if you've watched any of our previous videos.
It's true.
Oh, yeah, because Spider-Man made a guest appearance in the last video.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, yeah.
So good.
Yep. And so I mentioned it before, but I like to collect pins. So they had a Spider-Man mask pin and then a Mysterio pin. And
I have to Vanna White this. I have to move my hands around it.
Yeah, to get the Spider-Man one. And I was super stoked because when I ordered the tickets, I ordered the Spider-Man one and they're like, oh, Mysterio's sold out. And I was like, oh, no. But then I was like, because the company that makes this is called Mondo, and I've bought a lot of the Marvel pins from them. And I was like, no, I totally won. That was awesome. But then I got an email today. It was like, Mondo, we have we have more Mysterio pins. So when I got the picked up that one, I got the Mysterio one.
That is a hashtag hella dope lit fam looking pin.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. And like I want to demonstrate the pin holders that like Dana was talking about that I was talking about too last week. So like you got the thing and like you can definitely like I'm not pulling on the clip. I'm just like prying this off and it'll do it. Okay, I'm gonna flip the rest of it. But yeah, it definitely like is a thing. So you put them on bags and I'm always afraid that I'm gonna lose one. And so I end up not using them on things because, I paid some money for them. I don't want to lose them. They're special to me. But with these new pin backs, it just slips on like that. And then this thing does not move.
Oh, that looks really cool. Like, hold it up to the camera. Like, let them see it. Like, that's pretty sweet. Yeah. Like, I would feel much more comfortable with that.
Yeah, and, like, if you want to take it off, like, this is, like, two pieces. Like, it you see, like, it lifts up like that. And there's, like, a little plunger in it. So, yeah, these are really sweet. I definitely have used them on the pins I've put on my bag, and I feel much more comfortable because I definitely have pins that I have super glued to a bag before. Just make sure, like, I have one of those little chyrons from Zendikar. It's like glued on one of my messenger bags.
You mean Hedron?
Hedron? What did I say? Chiron?
Yeah.
What's a chiron? I forget.
I don't know.
I think it's something from Stargate.
Or Krypton, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So what's been up with you, Ryan?
All right. Well, it's time for your hashtag MTG Dad moment. And this one's a special one. This is for my son, Mal. And this just happened yesterday. And it was just like the greatest thing. So I was leaving the house and my son often waves to me and sometimes he'll blow a kiss. But yesterday he said, "Bye, Dad," like while he was waving. And it kind of like melted my heart a little bit. Like it was just like, he's like sad to see me go, but he knows I have to leave. And he's saying it and he's like enunciating the words. And like, I don't know, like it just made my whole day like better.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Like I was on my way to work and just that like memory and that moment like stayed with me the entire time. And it just made my day better. And so Mal, thank you so much for that, buddy. And I'm so excited to see where you go from here. I know it's going to be wonderful things. I'm super excited.
I definitely expect you to learn more words.
He's definitely on that track.
Yeah.
Speaking of some words he should learn, how about saying thank you to one Mr. Mike Condon. Thank you, sir. You are the silent partner. You are the third member of this cast. You're just not in front of the camera. You do so much and you encourage us and you support us, and we really couldn't do it without you.
For sure.
Really appreciate it.
Yep. So, what is next on the thing? Does that bring us to
Commander Rules?
All right, it's time again for Commander Rules, where we hit you with one of the comprehensive rules, and I'm going to read it out to you, Zach, and you just let us know how it hits your ear. Okay.
And it may or may not be pertinent to play, but we're going to all learn something together.
Yeah, absolutely.
What
okay.
is it?
This rule is 406.3. It's part of the Exile Zone rules.
Okay.
Okay, so we all know about the Exile Zone. It's where you want to put all of your opponent's creatures.
Except their commander.
Well, yeah, fair.
Well, let me rephrase. You do want to put it there, but they never put it there.
Yeah, and then they, unless they're mind slavered. But okay, so 406.3 says, exiled cards are, by default, kept face up and may be examined by any player at any time. Cards exiled face down can't be examined by any player except when the instructions allow. However, once a player is allowed to look at a card exiled face down, that player may continue to look at that card as long as it remains exiled, even if the instruction allowing the player to do so no longer applies. A card exiled face down has no characteristics, but the spell or ability that exiled it may allow it to be played from exile. Unless that card is being cast face down, see Rule 707.4, the card is turned face up just before the player announces that they are playing the card. See Rule 601.2. Okay, so that was a lot of words.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
I mean, yeah, that's stuff I knew. Like, I do think it's funny that the player that sees it can always like keep looking and be like, "Oh, what was it again?" But
that has to be right,
yeah.
Because otherwise you'd be like, "Is it this one or is it this one?"
Yeah, it's like, I don't remember.
But the fact that there's a difference between exiled face down and face up is kind of interesting, and maybe some of the folks out there in audience land didn't know that.
Yeah, and I do wonder if there's a rule about keeping. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is about keeping your exile zone separate from your library, because I sometimes have a problem with that because I lay my deck horizontal, and then I lay my graveyard horizontal above it, and then my exile is vertical.
Right.
And people sometimes get them confused. And I'm like, no.
Well, yeah, your style is different than the norm, I think. But you know what? That's just part of being Zach.
Yep. I mean,
my boy's ET.
I'm not going to change. I wasn't suggesting that.
I will say the next one says face down cards in exile should be kept in separate piles. So that's how that one starts. So just saying, like,
okay, so
they're separate piles is a thing.
I mean, mine are separate piles.
No, for sure. I just like that's how deep these rules go. No. So there you go. That's Commander rules, right?
That's a pretty good one.
All right, yeah, I liked it.
So now it's to the main topic, the meat and potatoes of the episode, if you will.
The utility lands to go in your utility belt, if you're Batman.
Yep, or any other. If you're any comic book character from the mid to late 90s, you have all those pockets.
Oh, yeah.
You keep them.
Yeah, if I was a superhero, I would definitely have utility cargo shorts for sure. Okay. All right. So Zach, hit him with some knowledge. What is a utility land? Just in case they don't know.
Yeah. So utility land is they can make mana sometimes, but they have an effect other than generating mana. I think the best one I can think of is Reliquary Tower, because I definitely run that in a lot of my decks because I like to draw cards. And it allows you to have no maximum hand size.
Yeah. And it still taps for mana, but it has another ability.
Right. It gives you colorless mana, right? And that's so, I think these cards are awesome because, they act like a spell in your deck, a reusable spell at that. And at least in our meta, generally speaking, lands don't get destroyed as often as an enchantment or an artifact.
Maybe not as often as they should.
That's probably true.
But I will say the thing I love about utility lands is it's kind of like you said, it's this ability to cram more into your deck, right? It's like, well, I have 37, 38 land slots, and then I have, the 60 some odd for the other cards. But when you get to put spell-like abilities on a land, that's where the magic happens. It's like getting to add extra spells in your deck. It's like increasing the slots of your deck. And I just love that so much. And I don't know. I think maybe some listeners out there don't play enough utility lands, and we're going to rectify that this week on Commander Social.
Right. And something else to kind of consider about these lands is some of them don't add mana, right? Like you got your Maze of Ith, your
Maze of Ith is the big one. It's like the OG, doesn't tap for mana. Why doesn't it tap for mana? Because.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely made, what is the Mystic Maze or something like that does the same thing, but it costs 4 or 6. I don't remember.
It's 4, yeah.
Yeah, to do the same thing, but it's a pretty good card. And those kinds of cards, if they don't make mana, I don't really consider them land cards, right?
Yeah, I kind of think about them as a 0 casting cost enchantment that makes you skip your land drop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I definitely don't include them in my land count because they don't tap for mana.
Right.
And that's kind of an important distinction because, if you're using a deck building tool out there, it might lump it in with the lands. I mean, it's gonna.
Yeah, definitely it's going to.
So you need to have that on your brain and go, okay, wait, hold on. That's, that goes in the other slot.
Yep.
So I think that's decent. Okay. So there's a rule of thumb here that I've put down, and this is just off the top of my head. And so, you may agree or disagree. But the general idea is true, I think, which is there's only room for so many utility lands in a deck. And the amount of room that is available shrinks the more colors your deck is, right? So if you're playing a Kozilek deck, you don't need to run waste. I mean, there's probably some stuff that can fetch up basic lands, but you can go hog wild. You could just utility land out the wazoo and be totally fine. That's a 0 color deck, right? In a 1 color deck, you're like, okay, maybe a couple 28 basics and then a bunch of utility lands is totally fine. If you're playing 5 colors, that's a different story. You really need to work on fixing that mana, so there's less room for these utility lands. And so here are the rules of thumb I came up with. 0, all of them. Run all the utility lands you can think of.
Unless they require a color to activate, and then in which case,
then you can't put them in your deck because you're running a colorless commander.
That's true.
So if you're running 1 color, I said around 8. 2 colors around 6. 3 colors around 4, And if it's 4 or 5 color, there's really only room for about 3. So that's kind of my rule of thumb when I'm building decks. Zach, what do you think about that?
My rule's a little bit different. What I do is, I get my deck built. Some of you have seen when I share deck lists, there's like no lands listed, or it's all like snow-covered islands and a reliquary tower. What I literally do is
gotta have reliquary tower.
Yeah, I mean that's a given.
There's some debate on whether that card's actually good.
I know.
Should we talk about it?
I don't know much about the debate because I just ignore it because I'm like, reliquary tower is good.
I like it. I think the thing is, I love when you cast Iconic Rift. I love having reliquary tower in play.
Yeah.
For sure. That's
That's
my thing. Maybe it's a little lazy, but I do love reliquary tower, and
Same.
I know that like a lot of times you're like, oh well, if you have a 12 card hand or your best 7 card hand, like the best 7 card hand's probably pretty equivalent to the 12 card land, and that's like an open slot you could put a utility land in. But I'm telling you, I really like that. Just like, no, I got this. Like I have all these, and I'm like, I don't want to have to think about discarding. And I'm going to do, sometimes there's a downside. It's like there's a vicious shadows happening or something, but, or what's the blue wheel? I'm losing my mind. What is it? It's,
Gifts Unforgiven?
No. Come on. Windfall. Got it.
Oh, Windfall. Yeah.
Got there.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. So Windfall, like everybody's going to get to draw extra cards if you got a reliquary tower. So there are some downsides, but I'm telling you, like, I really like it, and maybe that's controversial. Let us know, audience. Like, do you like Reliquary Tower? Or, like, which side of the argument do you fall? Are you pro-tower or anti-tower? I want to know.
For sure. And the way that I build things, it doesn't matter. Like, mostly my decks are 3 color, a couple of 2 colors, but the way that I do it is, like I said, on my deck list, I have Reliquary Tower and, like, 37 snow-covered islands. So
every deck list starts with a reliquary tower.
Yeah, for sure. It's always like the first card I put in. So
I will say, like when they were just reprinted, I was like, 10, add to cart.
Yeah, same,
please,
same. Because they had gotten a little high. They were like 5-ish, I think.
Yep.
They're like $1.50 now, which I still feel like is a little high. But
I paid $1 a piece, and I was happy to do so.
Yeah, same. So I'm crafting my own, and then I have a box of lands, special. I call my special lands. And I'm like, I look through and I'm like, will this special utility land fit in my deck? I will get in my deck. Will this one get it in my deck? And I run as many as I want. And definitely, if I start to have mana problems, I'll start to pull them out. But usually I don't. The only deck that I really like have watched the number of utility lands is my Niv-Mizzet Perun deck, because getting
blue, red.
Yeah, getting that on turn 6 is not easy.
Yeah, and that same goes for any commander that's got like a really high mana restriction. Like you gotta be careful.
Yeah, and another thing is and I know this may be a semi-controversial stance, but I run off-color fetches, so that makes the running of the utility lands a little bit easier, I think.
Are those the fetches that tell jokes that are somewhat inappropriate?
Yes, they are.
I couldn't help it.
That was so good. I wish I had thought of it. Like, I'm definitely your off-color fetch at any given party that you invite me to.
So one thing that bears mentioning here is that obviously, if you go deep on the mana base, like Zach, with the off-color fetches, or tons of like shocks and OG duels and stuff, you can bump those rule of thumb numbers up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like if your mana base is really solid, you have a couple extra room, a couple extra slots to play with, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I might definitely run the shocks. I'm not baller enough to run the OG duels, but one day, A1 bold prediction. One day, Zach will have at least one of every OG duel. A1 bold prediction.
Zach gets the duels into his deck. Here's the funny thing about that. Like, I actually have a playset of the OG duels. I took them out. I don't want to shuffle them anymore. Like, they're so price prohibitive. I'm just like, they don't help my deck that much. I just don't want to run them. Does that make me a bad person?
It doesn't make you a bad person, but I'm not sure it makes you a wise person either. I mean, in all respect, I will say I definitely for a while I was trying to make proxies. I was like, I'll wipe down foils and print out some transparencies. And I made some OG duels, because they looked cool, and because I was like, this is when I first started. I was like, I'll run them, and like honestly, I took them out, replaced them because it was an Esper deck, right? My first Urtai deck,
as my boy ZT is wont to do.
Oh yeah. So like, I put basics in for them, and like it was fine because I was still running shocks. Like they don't really make that much.
You don't notice the difference, honestly.
Yeah,
you really don't. Okay, so that's going to move us on into utility lands in the EDH Rec Top 100.
So, how many? If you had to guess, Ryan, how many in the top 100 cards for, let's just say, the past 2 years?
Okay, 2 years. Random time frame. As far back as EDH Rec goes.
Yes,
Got it. Yep.
I mean, that's the biggest sample size, right?
Right.
How many utility lands do you think that are in the top 100 EDH Rec cards?
So I would have guessed something like 5 or 6, just because I'm like, every deck has lands, right?
Yeah, same.
So what is it?
0.
Kind of a surprising to me, honestly.
It really was. I was just like, wow, that's interesting. And it also, for the past week and the past 2 weeks, there aren't any either. So what if we narrow it down to just the top 100 used lands over the last 2 years? How many would you think there'd be?
See, I would have thought there'd be a lot here because like this, I mean, obviously like I'm a min-maxer, right? Yeah. Like I'm trying to like get that value into my deck and...
What happened to 75%, guy? I thought...
Well, but yeah.
Min-maxing to 75%?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. It's like every time I get to like put a cool land in a deck, I'm just like, yes, that's exactly what I want.
Special.
And so I try to do that all the time. So I would have thought, okay, top 100 lands. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different color fixers and you want to have some budgety things like comes into play tapped and gain a life ones or guild gates or whatever.
That's something like 10 or 15 maybe.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, there were 5.
That is surprising.
Yep. So at number 31, there was Reliquary Tower.
All right. Well, you know what? We are on the side of the winning argument. That's the highest one.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. And like that should be number 6, right? Because
right
after basics. Basics, yeah. Number 40
Sorry.
is...
just, like I definitely would be like, yeah, well, shocks and like fetches and Terramorphic Expanse and Evolving Wilds. I would have thought those would be up there. I mean, they're not utility lands.
Yeah,
but...
this is the only utility lands I looked at.
Okay.
That's all you would you told me to only look at utility lands. And I'm not gonna lie, I was like, is Tower of the False God a utility land? No, that makes mana. I was like, oh, sorry, that's a ramper. But I got confused as I want to do. Ryan wasn't like mean or anything. He was just like, no, dude, just they don't make lands, but they use them. Okay,
they can make mana, but they have to do something else.
Yeah, for sure.
Like our next entry, number 40 on the list.
Yep, Bojuka Bog.
Gotta get that Bojuka Bog in your deck. If you're running black,
there's no reason
sub it out for a basic swamp.
Yeah.
I have so many of these, and there are so many times it's just like, oh, whoops, totally messed that person over.
Yeah, like I typically try my best not to play comes into play tapped lands, but I will run a Bojuka Bog to exile that graveyard every time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like every time I play it, I kind of hear this song in my head. All they are is dust in the wind. Just like your graveyard's out. I'm sorry, it's gone, and you know
it got dusted.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so what's the next on the list?
79 is.
Whoa, that's a big drop.
That is a big drop. Is Kessig Wolf Run. So what does that do, Ryan?
That is a land that taps for colorless mana, and you can spend X, a red, and a green, and tap it and give target creature plus X plus 0 and trample until end of turn. Did I get there?
Let's find out.
Do. Kessig Wolf Run, what do you do?
Why are you not on this list, Kessig Wolf Run?
Uh-oh. It's a race. Ryan uses technology. You're typing pretty fast. Did you
Kessig Wolf Run?
Oh, you beat me. All right.
Tap, add the colors, then X, red, green, tap, target creature gets plus X plus O and gains trample until end of turn. Is that what you said?
That's what I said.
I thought you said something different.
Nope, I got there.
That's how good my memory is.
I'm running all the wolves up in Kessig.
Where are we again?
All right.
So
next up is Rouge's Passage.
Is that? Yeah, I probably misspelled that. Did I? No.
It's rogues, but sometimes you want to wear a little makeup.
Yeah. Or you're like,
why'd you leave your keys upon the table?
So this is probably my second most run land, next to Reliquary Tower, utility wise.
All right.
Because I don't like to run a lot of creatures in my deck. But if I run a creature, I definitely want it to get through to some face.
Yeah, you want that creature to like lay the elbow drop and get in there.
So, for the low price of 4, technically 5 mana, you pay 4, tap Rogue's Passage, and creature's unblockable.
No blocks for you.
No. Yeah, take it to your face.
Yeah, man. Rogue's Passage, totally sweet. Honestly, like if you're doing the Voltron Commander, this is an auto include for sure. And I don't know, like there's just something cool about like the idea of like somebody with like a little like cloak and dagger, like sneaking down a hallway.
Yeah.
Like, surprise. Snap.
Yep. It's also real good in the Tatiova Infect deck.
I believe that.
Yeah, gotta get some Infectors through.
All right, and the last one on the list is one of my personal favorites. If you listen to our spellbook episode, it's in my spellbook, and that is Alchemist Refuge. It's number 95 on the top 100 lands in EDH rec, and it's basically tap out a colorless or blue-green tap, and you may cast cards as though they had flash this turn. And I love me some flash.
Yep, that is Ryan to a T.
Part of that flash mob, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. So like we said already, kind of these sorts of cards, they definitely can like shore up certain weaknesses in your deck, right? Because a lot of them produce colorless mana and take colorless mana for your for its effect. You can put it in any deck, right? And there is the color pie, and certain abilities are restricted to that color pie a lot of times, but you can sort of get around that and shore something up with a utility land. Maybe your commander's like super important. You don't want to have him or her countered, right? Cavern of Souls.
It's a pricey one, but it gets the job done.
Yeah, it does. And like, I don't know, like Cavern of Souls is just real good, and it's great in tribal decks too, right? Like, if you're running a tribal deck, you should 100% be running Cavern of Souls, unless you don't have one. In that case, they're kind of pricey still.
I don't own one.
Really?
Really? I don't. And I love a tribal deck. Yeah. I do. But for me, the problem is the opportunity cost. It's like, well, that card's like $50 or $60, and like I could buy a lot of Magic cards for $50 or $60. Like to me, that card is just not worth that much. Like if it was like 12, I'd be like, all right, let's get it in a couple of decks. But that's too much.
Yeah, I used to have 3. I only have 1. I traded 2 of mine for something better because at the time they were like $70, and I'm like $150 for other cards. Yes, please.
Yeah, that's like a whole deck.
Because back then I wasn't really playing any sort of like tribal business. And
another land that you might consider running if you're in a counterspell heavy meta is Boseiju, who shelters all. This is a legendary land. It comes into play tapped. You can tap and pay 2 life and add 1 mana to your mana pool. And if that mana is spent to cast an instant or sorcery spell, that spell can't be countered by spells or abilities this turn. That
card's legit. Like, I definitely have it in decks. I've never gotten it to use it, but it's definitely in my Kest deck and in my Niv Mizzet Perun deck.
It's a really good card. If you're playing in a meta with this guy where there's like a lot of countering spells that have 5 lines or more of text, you want to Boseiju. It's a pretty good card, and honestly, 2 life is not that big of a deal.
No.
Now, I will say, you can't run too many of these because it costs 2 life every time you tap it.
Yeah.
But Ancient Tomb is the thing, and we run that, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
So what's up next?
Let's see. What is up next? So sometimes, if you're like me, you want to recur stuff. Things get killed, you get a little aggravated, but you bring them back. So you have cards like Hall of Heliod's Generosity.
Back in the library again.
Right? And Academy Ruins. And these are Hall of Heliod's Generosity is definitely one of my new favorites. And I love some artifacts. So Academy Ruins is something I love. Academy Ruins is, again, a legendary land. It taps for a colorless mana, or you can pay 1 and a blue to tap it to put target artifact card from your graveyard on top of your library.
I mean, honestly, if I have probably 7 or 8 like really impactful artifacts or enchantments, I want to run either one of those in my deck because they don't come to play tapped and they add mana. They're really good.
Yeah, I think so too. And Hall of Heliod's Generosity is literally the same thing, except instead of 1 in a blue, it's 1 in a white. Put target enchantment card from your graveyard on top of your library. And Yeah, like when I saw Hall of Heroes Generosity, I was like, yes, because enchantments are like my second favorite kind of card.
Yeah, and you know what? They're pretty cheap right now. They're only like $5,
Yeah.
and I definitely picked up a couple of copies because it seems like the kind of card I want to run in a lot of my decks.
Hashtag MTG Finance. I definitely want to get fill out my play set. I guess when you say say play set, I mean 4. But in Commander, are there really play sets?
There aren't, but you know what? I when I like a card, I really like it, and I probably want to run it in a lot of decks. And yeah, that's how we do.
Yeah, if I can get it cheap, I'm just like, oh yeah, let me get 6 of these.
And of course, if you're wanting to run some utility lanes, you can never go wrong with a wasteland or a strip mine because, you know, we're talking about running these cool lands this episode. Yeah. Maybe you want to combat those cool lands, right? Maybe somebody's got that Yavimaya Hollow or that Maze of Ith, and you're like, you know what? I need to get that gone.
I don't think you mentioned that third card.
Oh, Ghost Quarter? Ghost Protocol? What is that?
It's a Mission Impossible movie. No, Ghost Quarter. Yeah, so like, I'm not a fan of mass land destruction, right? Because that hinders people from playing Magic, and that's real annoying. But like single target land removal, as long as you're not recurring it, is totally fine, right? Like sometimes someone has a Rogue's Passage, and you know it's not
a big giant creature with Infect in play.
Yeah, or something crazy, or like they have not Keranos. Is it Keranos? No. What's the god that I don't like that Big John plays?
Xenagos.
Yeah, if you have a Xenagod in play, I'm just like, gotta get rid of that Rogue's Passage. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can see that. All right, yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, that's another kind of like use case there. You know, getting that synergistic talk in.
So here's the deal: if you want to run these lands, maybe you want to run ways to find the really cool ones. And
for sure,
most of the colors have some pretty cool ways to do this. There are actually a ton of cards. We're not going to hit them all here, and I'm just going to kind of blow through these real quick.
We'll put some images somewhere.
Yeah, they're going to be that way
right there.
Yep.
Over here.
There. Okay. Yeah, we're going to go there.
Maybe there. I don't know. We'll see. It depends on how it looks in post.
Yeah, and we're in pre right now, so you don't know.
Yeah, we're real pre right now.
So number 1 on the top of this list is Expedition Map.
Great card.
It's a single mana artifact. You can spend 2 mana, tap it, sack it, and go find any land of your choice. This can go in any deck. So if you're really going to kind of lean into the utility lands, this is a great include. And I can't say too much more.
Does it put it into play tapped?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, sweet. Another one is Trinket Mage. It's 1 in a blue, I believe. Is that correct?
2 in a blue.
2 in a blue?
For 2/2.
That was 1. Okay. But it lets you get a 0-cost artifact. So you can definitely get your Seed of Snods or your...
Bless you.
Yeah. Or whatever, your artifact lands, your Darksteel Citadels.
Yeah, Great Furnace.
Yeah, all of them.
It also gets 1 mana artifacts too. So we can go get that Expedition Map if you want to find something else.
That's true.
Another one on the list is Sylvan Scrying. This is 1 in a green for a sorcery that lets you find any land in your library. It's a great one.
Yep.
If you're playing green and you want to do the land thing, Sylvan Scrying is where it's at. What's that next one?
Weathered Wayfarer.
Single white mana. 1/2.
That lets you find a land.
If an opponent controls more lands than you, tap it, search your library, and find any land and put it into your hand. I think I got there.
Sure.
Did I get there?
I don't know.
Let's find out.
What about land tax? Is land tax a finder of?
No, it only goes against planes.
Lame. It's not going to be on that list because I didn't put these cards in that list because I'm dumb.
Right, because lists are things.
Suckers.
Let's go to the map. Here we go. All right. Weathered Wayfarer. Wow, this card's expensive. It's like $13. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I got it kind of wrong. It's a single white mana for a 1/1. You spend a white and tap it, search your library for a land card, put it in your hand, shuffle your library only if an opponent controls more lands than you. So I was pretty close.
I are disappointed.
Oh, I'm going to bow my head in shame.
Shame.
But tell you that there's white ways to find lands. And what's the next on the list?
You got your all-purpose tutors. You got your Demonic Tutor.
Diabolic Tutor. Vampiric Tutor. Increasing Ambition.
Yes. Diabolic Edict.
That's not a tutor.
Yes, it is.
Diabolic Edict?
Is it Diabolic something else?
Yeah.
Diabolic, shut your face.
We already talked about Diabolic Tutor. Are you thinking about like Diabolic Intent?
Yes. Is that the one where you have to sack a creature?
Yes.
Yeah, Diabolic Intent.
Indeed. All right. So those are just some ways that you can use to find these lands that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of getting towards the end here. We're going to talk about some of our favorite utility lands to include in your deck. So you probably know about a lot of these, but the idea here is that maybe there are some you don't know. And if you're using EDH Rec, you might not know about some of these because they're not in a ton of decks, and maybe they should be. So let us know at home, audience, what some of your favorite utility lands are if we don't talk about one of the ones that we're going to talk about now.
Also, I'll note that if you use Architect for your deck builder, they have their own like system of suggesting lands.
Oh, okay. All right. Second time reference this episode.
But you can say lands played with this commander or something like that, and it gives you a bunch of lands. And yeah, they're definitely giving you the shocks, but it definitely gives you like some of the utility lands too.
All right, so first up on this list is Kieldor Outpost. And if you listen to our Azorius Super Friends episode, you're pretty familiar with this. Yep. It basically comes into play and you have to sacrifice a plains, and you can spend 1 and a white and tap it and make a soldier. This is great for making chump blockers all day, every day. And it's really fun to say. I think that's the important part. Yeah. It also taps for white mana, so...
That's pretty sweet, too. Something that we want to rectify from last week. We got the artist wrong on that card. It's Jeff A. Manguez. So, sorry, Jeff.
Sweet art. Great card.
Yep.
I put it in most of my decks that have white. I just love making chump blockers.
Yeah, no, I just love that card. And I've always loved that card.
Goblin or otherwise.
Yep.
So what's up next on the list?
Next up on the list is one of my new favorites, Karn's Bastion. So Karn's Bastion is a card that's a land that...
where Karn has his bastion.
Yep, he keeps his bastion there. You tap it for a colorless, obviously, but 4 tap, proliferate.
Gotta get those counters somehow.
Yeah, right.
Somehow, some way.
Like, proliferate's like the new, like, thing I'm into. I'm always, like, trying to find ways to put proliferate in decks.
Yo, ZT, I heard you like proliferate.
Yo, RG, you heard right. Like, I'm making, like, a Enchantress deck, and, like, I was putting some, like, proliferate stuff in there, and I was like, I totally don't need this.
All right, so next up, we've got Tulare West. This is one I like to include. It's a blue land. It does come to play tap, so that's like a little bit of a bummer, but it does tap to add blue, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And if you want to, you can spend 1 blue and transmute it, which is discard it and search your library for a card that has the same mana cost. So this can go find Mana Crypt, but it could also go find any other land that's on this list. It's a pricey one at around $15.
Yeah, that's pretty whoa. Like, I definitely just have one sitting on a shelf in my closet in one of my good stuff piles.
Get that card in a deck. It's too good to not be just getting work.
It is.
All right, so what do we got next?
You got Core Haven. If you watched our last episode, you'll know what that does. But in case you didn't, Core Haven taps to add colors mana to your mana pool, like utility lands are wont to do,
and does not come into play tap. That's important.
Yeah, that's super good. So 1 and a white, tap, prevent all combat damage that will be dealt by target attacking creature this turn. That card is great, and I need to get some.
Get some.
Get in your deck.
All right. We also talked about Winding Canyons last week.
Yep.
This is a land that you can spend 2 and tap, and until, basically for the rest of the turn, you can play creatures as though they had flash, which is great. Totally sweet, super awesome. Love me some Winding Canyons. Kind of pricey these days, I think.
Yeah, probably. $20 isn't that bad.
That's still a lot.
It is pricey, but not like more than $20 is where it gets prohibitively pricey for me.
But I mean, that's right at the edge.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so ZT, this next section is for you. These folk lands are pretty sweet. I mean, not all of them that are actual folk, but some of them make folk.
Yep, these are all lands that I like. I love the folk lands for some reason. Like Mutavault, like you pay 2, it becomes a 2/2 creature of all types. I've loved that card forever. Like, it just is a sweet card to me for some reason. Then there's Creeping Tar Pit, which I definitely love. Creeping Tar Pit, you pay it adds a blue or black mana. Comes in tap. Don't love that, but hey, for 1, a blue and a black, Creeping Tar Pit becomes a 3/2 blue and black elemental creature until end of turn that can't be blocked and is still a land. Like, that's like, I feel like that's like Rogue's Passage and a creature on a land.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a 3/2 that's unblocked, so it's not like, highfalutin. But I mean, it does add 2 colors of mana, right? Like, this is strictly better than a Guildgate in most decks, unless you're doing that Maze's End craziness. So yeah, I mean, things like this are great. Like Celestial Colonnade's pretty sweet too, although also a little bit price prohibitive.
Oh man, that one. That's why I didn't even include it on the list of cards, because it's so pricey, and I've wanted them for something that I don't consider that an option.
Yeah.
So there's definitely Inkmoth Nexus. You guys know what that does. You pay one. It taps for colorless. You pay 1. It makes a 1/1 flyer with Infect. It's pretty sweet. These other 2 cards are of my favorites. There is. Where is it?
It's somewhere in the neighborhood of right around here.
Okay, so the first one is Erixmethes, Slumbering Isle. It's a pretty new card. It's 2 for or 2 green blue for a legendary creature, Kraken. When it comes into play initially, you tap it. Well, it comes into play tapped. It has 5 slumber counters on it. Ryan, you want to demonstrate? Like, we get little squares of Ryan like being asleep for the counters. But as long as it has the counters, it's a land, and the land gives you a blue and a green, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's great.
And then whenever you cast a spell, a spell being anything but a land, you may remove a slumber count from Erixmethes. When they're all gone, it becomes a 12/12.
And Erixmethes works super great with this next one on the list, which is Thespian Stage.
Yep.
And I'm going to lump Vesuva in here too, which is basically utility-wise, these let you copy lands, which is pretty sweet. If a good land is cool, maybe 2 of them is even better, or one of your opponents has a cool land and you want to go ahead and get down on that. I'm down with that. I don't think we need to read these. I think folks know what they do.
The other card that, like, this is, ever since I saw this card, I was like, oh my goodness, like, I have to play with this card. But it's Dark Depths, right? It comes into play with 10 ice counters. You can pay 3 to remove a counter from Dark Depths.
Nobody ever does that.
Nope. I definitely Thespian Stage every time. I mean, well, I'll take that back. I have been like floated on mana and done it.
Did you actually get there? Did you remove all the counters?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of mana.
I will note that the people I was playing with did not read the card. They were just like, oh, he's sinking his mana into it. That seems like, and I definitely was doing it like 2 counters a turn because I was ramping. But
I mean, if you got like a Seedborn Muse going, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. You know what? You've talked me into it. I didn't know that it was 3. That's how little I've ever actually removed a counter with this. It's definitely a combo land.
Yeah.
IMO.
Yeah, it is. And so, when it has no ice counters on it, you sacrifice it. If you do, you create a creature card called Merit Lage. Is that right?
Yeah, that was my impression of a 2020 flying indestructible.
Nice. And that's what it is, a flying indestructible avatar of whoa. So what do we got next, Ryan?
All right, so let's see. We've got Emergent Zone. This does like a 1-turn impression of Alchemist Refuge, right? It's basically, it comes into play. You can tap it for colorless mana, and 1 and tap, sacrifice Emergent Zone. You may cast spells this turn as though they had Flash. Savior of the Universe.
Cool.
Flash Gordon.
Oh.
Anyway, Emergent Zone is pretty sweet. Obviously, if there are decks that can't run Alchemist Refuge, and you want to be able to do things that aren't creatures, so Winding Canyons is out. Emergent Zone is your go-to. It's pretty sweet.
Yep. I like to run both if I can.
¿Por qué no los dos?
The next one is definitely a Zack special in Venter's Fair. In Venter's Fair, fetches an artifact. So at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more artifacts, you gain 1 life. That's sweet. I like gaining life. Definitely gonna have 3 or more artifacts out in a deck that this is in. You can tap it for colorless mana. And for 4, tap it. You can sacrifice it. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Activate this ability only if you control 3 or more artifacts, which, again, duh.
If it's a Zack deck, you're definitely going to, for sure.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know. This card's great. It's a recent card, and I've definitely included it in quite a few decks and been super happy with it. So, definitely on the list of things you should check out.
Yeah, like, they're like $4-ish now. I only see that card going up. Like, I would definitely, like, get some in your good stuff box.
All right. So up next, we've got Hall of the Bandit Lord. This is a legendary land from the Kamigawa block. It comes into play tapped, sadly, but a lot of these utility lands do, and sometimes you're willing to pay that price. You can tap, pay 3 life, add 1 mana to your mana pool. If that mana is spent on a creature spell, that creature has haste. So Commander is a format where there's oftentimes a legendary creature, i.e. your commander, that you care about, and sometimes you care about it connecting, and sometimes you just care about it doing its thing the turn it comes into play. Hall of the Bandit Lord could be a card for you. 3 life is a lot. It's more than 2.
Yeah.
And there's no way to get mana out of it other than paying that 3 life. So this may be one of those lands you want to put into the other category where you don't count it as a land.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, this card has definitely done work for me in the past, and there's sometimes you just really want it.
Yeah, I'd actually never heard of this card. It's like, so, I'm not gonna lie, we saw Spider-Man earlier, so it's pretty late at night, and I was like, we were like getting the notes ready, and I was like, Max was talking to me on Slack, and I was like, hey, I'm Max from Commander Central, not
some other guy named Max.
Some other Max. And I was like, hey, man, like, what are some of your go-to utility lands? He's like, Hall of the Bandit Lord. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but that sounds cool. Looked it up. Turns out it is cool. I like it. Thanks, Max.
Thanks, Max. All right. So up next, we've got Scavenger Grounds. This is a pretty sweet one. This is graveyard removal. Basically, it taps to add colorless management mana pool, which is great. And it doesn't come into play tapped, which is also great. You can spend 2 and tap, sacrifice Odd Desert. It doesn't have to be this desert, which Scavenger Grounds is. And then exile all cards from all graveyards. So, you hit yourself too. But if your deck doesn't care about graveyards, this is great. And even if it does, this is everybody's graveyard all at once. And you could do it at instant speed, like in response to them targeting something. This card's great. And I think more decks should run it.
Yeah,
probably.
It should. Like, this is a card that I like continually forget exists. Like, it's holy. Nope, fam. So let's see what else have we got. Scavenger Grounds?
No, that was
we just did that one, right?
You do that one, and then I'll do the last
one. Okay. Prov, Spires of the Order.
This is an Azorius land. You can only put it in decks that have access to blue and white mana.
Also, I don't know if the viewers know, but we did an Azorius Super Friends deck take last week.
Indeed, we did.
Was this card in it?
No, and it could be, but I chose to put Core Haven instead.
I feel like that's the right... If you already have a Core Haven. Well, I don't know. How much is this worth? Oh, yeah, 26 cents. So, if you don't have a Core Haven, get you a Prov Spires of the Order. But, it taps for 1 mana, or you can pay 4 white, blue, and prevent all damage a source of your choice would deal this turn.
Right, so the deal is Core Haven does creatures, and this does other things.
Yeah.
Right? But 7 mana, including tapping the Prov, is pretty pricey.
It is.
It's a whole turn and then some. So, I was just like, this card, like, my deck's already clunky. I'm not going to include it. But it's a cool card, and honestly, if you're more budget-focused, that card's great. Like, it does work. And the last card on our list is something that I put in every red deck I make. What's it running these days? Is it still pretty cheap?
It's like 2 something, I think.
That's pretty good. All right, this land is called Care Keep. And it's a legendary land, and it comes into play untapped, so that's bonus points.
Sweet.
And it adds 1 colorless to your mana pool, so whoop, got there on that.
Whoop, there it is.
And then you can spend 1 in a red, put a 0/1 red kobold creature token named Kobolds of Care Keep onto the battlefield.
Whoop, there's a chump blocker.
And here's the deal. Typically, Kieldor Outpost, that's what you use Kieldor Outpost for.
Right.
This doesn't have to sacrifice a land when it comes into play. And it's a 0/1 instead of a 1/1, and Soldier's a more relevant creature type. But I'm telling you, Care Keep gets the job done in a lot of my decks.
Yeah, like, they're chump blockers, who cares?
Yeah, they're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
And, here's the thing, Zach. I'm working on a mono-red Planeswalker deck.
Really?
Yeah, and Care Keep is a snap include, a snimplude there, if you will. All right, so that is our thoughts about utility lands in the Commander format. Audience at home, let us know what you think about it. Like, did we miss your favorite? Is there something cool that you wanted us to talk about? Convince us. Tell us why it's good. I'm sure there's a ton we left off the list.
Oh, yeah.
Off the top of my head, I've got Yavimaya Hollow. But hollow. But yeah, like let us know what you thought. We would really appreciate the feedback, and we just think that utility lands are cool and that more people should play them. So that was the idea of this episode.
So you've made it this far in the video, and for that we thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have some constructive criticism, let us know. If there's something you really liked, also let us know.
And don't forget to hit that like button,
the subscribe button,
and ding that bell for notifications.
Right. And if you want to let us know these things, you can get us together at Commander Social.
Individually on Twitter, I'm at Green Geek.
And I'm at Z4CK38. So this is Zach and Ryan saying,
keep it social.